What is up, everybody? Eric here from That's Wrestling. If you have any questions or anything, you can reach me at eric@thatswrestling.com. This show is all about AEW and New Japan at the moment. Today, I'm going to be going over the Destruction show in Kagoshima, so New Japan Destruction in Kagoshima, which was September 16th, 2019. We have, for the English announced team, today we have Kevin Kelly and Gino Gambino. So, starting off, there were two Young Lion matches with the Young Lion Cup, and then there was a Young Lion multi-man tag. If you want to go see those, you can go check them out. But moving on to kind of the main part of the card. Starting off, we have Chaos and Bullet Club facing one another. We have Sho, Ishii, and Yoshihashi versus Tongaloa, Tamatonga, Bad Luck Fale, and Chase Owens. So the story kind of going into this here is God beat Ishii and Yoshihashi the night before for the tag titles when Kenta created a distraction. So this match was actually really short for the most part. It was Ishii and Yoshihashi getting a little bit of revenge on God. And the finish was Yo picked up the win with a roll-up, and it's a bit of sweet revenge, a little bit. Obviously, the titles were not on the line, but God had won the night before with a roll-up as well. The incensed Gorillas of Destiny beat up Yo and Sho after the match and hit Yo with a magic killer, and then they hold their tag titles high while everybody clears out. So, not a whole lot coming out of that match. I am not sure what's going to come of the Ishii and Yoshihashi rivalry with God, since it was not a clean finish at Beppu. We'll see if that turns into a rematch down the line here. So, going into the next match, we have Yushin Thunder Liger, Honma, Makabe, and Hiroshi Tanahashi facing a Suzuki-gun faction of Doki, Suzuki, Zack Sabre Jr., and Kanemaru. So, going into this, when I did my Beppu review, I had not seen the behind-the-scenes stuff, and it seems that Suzuki has been going after Liger in a war of words leading up to this, and Suzuki has been egging Liger on, and he wants a match with him. Apparently, a lot of this stems from when they actually had a legit MMA match like 20 years ago, and it kind of comes out of that. So Tanahashi and Zack Sabre Jr. also met the night before at Beppu, where Zack Sabre Jr. recaptured the Rev Pro British Heavyweight Championship. So that would be why they are both facing each other here in this tag. We'll see what comes of that in the future. Really starts off, Suzuki-gun attacks Tanahashi as he's being introduced. Honma and Ketamaru started off after a short exchange. They both tag out, and then we see Zack Sabre Jr. and Tanahashi come into the ring. We end up with kind of a tag team breakdown. Everybody's involved. Suzuki drags Liger to the outside, and he pulls him out through the barricades into the crowd and stacks a bunch of barricades on him like he does quite often. Liger gets up and brings a chair to the ring. Suzuki grabs one as well. They eventually disengage, and the match continues with Tanahashi and Ketamaru. Before Suzuki gets tagged back in, Liger comes in to attack Suzuki. So they are really going after each other on here. They go back to the outside again. Liger gets thrown into the railing. Suzuki goes back into the ring and starts working over Tanahashi. Doki gets the tag in and hits Tanahashi with a pipe behind the ref's back. Sabre gets tagged in. Tanahashi and Sabre have a bit of a back and forth. Tanahashi hits a dragon screw on his leg. So even the night before, Tanahashi had been working over Zack Sabre Jr.'s leg as well. Then Suzuki and Makabe end up in the ring together. Suzuki gets worked over a little bit by Makabe. Then a Suzuki-gun member comes into the ring, but Makabe takes them out, actually both of them. And then Liger gets tagged in to engage with Suzuki. They have a bit of a striking exchange. We have another breakdown, and everybody gets involved. After Doki gets tagged in by Suzuki, Suzuki runs into the ring and tries to start untying Liger's mask. Suzuki goes back to the outside, grabs a chair, goes into the ring, and then starts beating him down with the chair and gets DQ'd because of it. And then Suzuki pulls off Liger's mask. So Liger has been unmasked by Suzuki during this. He carries it away like a trophy, carrying it in his teeth, holding it up like a trophy sometimes. And then after the match, Liger is obviously really mad, grabs the mic, and says Suzuki has crossed the line, and that he says it was his last match in Kagoshima, and he tried to humiliate him. So I think this is working up to what is going to be Liger's final match, and that should be taking place at the Tokyo Dome. So I'm guessing it's going to be Suzuki and Liger for Liger's final match. So moving on from there, we have an LIJ faction versus a Chaos faction. So we have Bushi, Sanada, Shingo Takagi versus Rocky Romero, Goto, and Okada. So story going into this here, we have Shingo Takagi and Goto have a grudge match coming up at Destruction in Kobe. This is because Shingo Takagi beat Goto during the G1 right after he had moved up from junior heavyweight to heavyweight. So Goto did not take kindly to that. Also, Sanada will be facing Okada for the IWGP heavyweight title on October 14th at King of Pro Wrestling. And that comes out because after Sanada got the win over Okada during the G1. So that's why that match has gotten set up. So right off the bat, Goto and Shingo start off the match. It was actually very similar to the match the night before at Beppu. They exchanged some serious chops and strikes. Goto tags in Rocky. Rocky gets in a bunch of forearms and strikes, and then Bushi tries to interfere. Rocky gets him with a flying head scissors, and he gets thrown out of the ring. Bushi gets tagged in, though, and then starts working on Rocky. Sanada gets the tag and continues to work over Rocky, gets him in the Paradise Lock, and then after that, Shingo gets tagged in, and he takes out Goto on the apron and sends Goto flying into the railing on the outside. Sanada gets back in, and Rocky is still being isolated by LIJ. Rocky gets a flying head scissors to make some space from Sanada, but as he's going for the tag, Sanada grabs his boot, and but Rocky manages to hit him with a rewind kick and tags in Okada. Okada takes down Sanada, and they have a bit of a back and forth. Sanada hits a suplex and then tags in Bushi. So many of these wrestlers have very similar names. Bushi hits Okada with a missile drop kick, and then a drop kick to the knee, then a DDT for a 2 count. LIJ gets a bit of a triple team on Okada, and then Shingo and Goto are fighting on the outside of the ring, and they have a bit of a strike fest out there. Okada hits a drop kick on Bushi and then drops an elbow from the second rope and then hits the Rainmaker on Bushi for the win. So Okada stands. So after the match, Okada has the heavyweight championship belt. Sanada had been laid out and he is kind of laying under the bottom rope, and holding up the championship is Okada standing on the ropes above him. So he's Okada's egging Sonata on a little bit with some taunting. Goto and Shingo have a little bit of an exchange of words after the match as well, but they do not end up getting physical. So we have that grudge match coming up at Destruction in Kobe, and then we have the title match with Okada and Sonata coming up at King of Pro Wrestling. So this was your standard tag match, undercard match. So then going in here to the next match, we have another LIJ faction. This time it's Naito and Evil versus a Bullet Club faction of Jay White and Takahashi with Gedo on the outside. Setting up this match is Naito will be facing Jay White for the Intercontinental Championship at Destruction in Kobe as well. So before the bell, White and Naito are kind of joshing over the IC title belt a little bit. White and Takahashi try to attack Evil and Evil and Naito, just like they did the night before, but this time they are ready for it before the match. Naito and White are the legal men starting off the match. Naito gets the upper hand for a while, and Evil tags in, starts working over Jay White. Naito gets back in the ring again and starts working over Jay White some more. He goes for a wrecking ball drop kick, but Gedo grabs his leg, and then Jay White slams Naito down to the apron, and they brawl into the crowd a bit. Naito gets tossed into the seats, and then Jay White kind of taunts Naito. Naito barely makes it to the ring for the 20 count. He was way out from the ring when the ref hit like 18, so he was kind of booking it to make it in for the 20 count. It was a little close, and Takahashi gets tagged in, and he's beating on Naito for a while, and then Naito gets tossed to the outside. Jay White starts slamming him into the rail a bunch of times. Then White gets tagged into the match, and he goes back to work on Naito. Naito ends up hitting a flying head scissors, but White prevents him from getting a tag when he hits a neck breaker, and then he manages to, the Naito that is, hits a neck breaker, and then he can tag in Evil. Evil has to contend with Takahashi running in, and then Gedo getting involved, and he takes them both out when they run into the ring. White ends up hitting a DDT on Evil and tags in Takahashi and starts working over Evil a little bit. Evil gets Takahashi with the Darkness Falls, but White gets involved, and they double team Evil for a near fall with Naito breaking up the pin. All four men are fighting in the ring for a little bit. Evil hits Everything is Evil on Takahashi and gets the win. After the pin, Jay White starts attacking Evil, and then Naito engages, and then Jay White gives Naito a low blow for a rain of boos after that, and then they all end up clearing the ring and heading to the back after that. Nothing major happened after the match. So right there we have LIJ, Everything is Evil on Takahashi for the win. So now we have our first of two championship matches. We have El Phantasmo and Taiji Ishimori from Bullet Club. They are the current junior tag champions. They are facing Will Ospreay and Robbie Eagles from Chaos. So story going into this, Ospreay and Eagles got a win over the champs at Royal Quest. So that set them up, since they had beat the champs. Now they get a title shot. It's one of those sloppy booking decisions, I guess you could say, or lazy booking decisions. Anyways, also going into this match, El Phantasmo, since he won the Super J Cup, is going to be facing Will Ospreay at King of Pro Wrestling for the Junior Heavyweight Championship as well. So this match was insane. It was very, very fast. I have almost a full typed page out here of what happened in the match. I'll try to sum it down as best I can, but this was a very back and forth match the whole time. There was a lot of very innovative offense that I have not seen, and it was pretty crazy. El Phantasmo and Ospreay are kind of taunting each other back and forth throughout the match. Really, the major time when one team had the upper hand, Eagles was being worked over quite a lot during the match, and that was kind of the longest stretch where one team had the upper hand, but for the most part, it was a really back and forth. So one of the cool moves that I saw is that El Phantasmo got Ishimori up on his shoulders, and he kind of like tossed him towards Ospreay to give him a code breaker, and then Ishimori held on to Ospreay's head, so Ospreay is draped over Ishimori's knees, and El Phantasmo hits a moonsault onto Ospreay's back as he's still draped across Ishimori. That was a very cool spot. After that, they attempt the same thing, but Ospreay sees it and gets out of the way. And with Ishimori being up on El Phantasmo's shoulders, Robbie Eagles does a springboard Rana to Ishimori and pulls him off the top of El Phantasmo. It was a very cool move as well. With both Ishimori and El Phantasmo out on the outside, Will Ospreay and Robbie Eagles both hit cross-ring flip dives, sort of like how the Golden Lovers would do the Golden Triangle, but they just went straight flipping over the ropes instead of stopping on the turnbuckle side and doing a moonsault or something like that. After that, they set up Ishimori for a red wing, but El Phantasmo ends up breaking that up. Ishimori goes for a Rana on Will Ospreay, but he catches him, and then he pulls him back up, and Eagles does like a sliced bread, and Ospreay gives him a power bomb at the same time. So it was basically a sliced bread power bomb, I guess you could call it. And El Phantasmo ends up breaking up a pin attempt right there. Phantasmo and Ospreay end up on the outside, and Eagles goes for another sliced bread, but Ishimori pushes him off and then hits him with a poison Rana. After getting a 2 count, they exchange strikes for a little bit, and Ospreay ends up pulling Ishimori out of the ring and holds his leg. And so Ishimori is holding on to the bottom rope, and like Will Ospreay is trying to pull him away from the ring. Robbie Eagles gets up onto the, can't remember if he was on the turnbuckle or if it was just off the apron. Either way, he did a double stomp on Ishimori's leg that Will Ospreay was holding out. So now with Ishimori's leg in a compromised position, Eagles gets him into the Ron Miller special, and El Phantasmo gets into the ring to try to break up the submission, but Will Ospreay comes out from the side and intercepts him and throws on a octopus hold. But El Phantasmo ends up powering out of that and dropping Ospreay onto Eagles to break up the submission attempt. Ospreay then gets rolled out to the outside. El Phantasmo gets tagged in, so he is now the legal man. El Phantasmo gets some words about him. So El Phantasmo engages with Robbie Eagles, and he's talking to him about, you betrayed the Bullet Club, blah, 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 blah. Eagles ends up beating him down in the corner for a little bit. El Phantasmo gets out of it, and he hits a springboard crossbody, follows it up with a lion salt, and then does a running dive to the outside on Ospreay, which sends him over the back of the barricade. And then he gets up onto the apron, and it looks like he's going to do a springboard of some kind, maybe a 450 onto Robbie Eagles in the ring, but he looks back and sees Ospreay and he does a springboard moonsault over the barricades onto Will Ospreay, and then he comes back and then does the springboard splash, but Eagles gets his knees up. Eagles and El Phantasmo get into a bit of a striking exchange, and then Robbie Eagles ends up hitting El Phantasmo with a sliced bread DDT. So he kind of went for the sliced bread, and kind of how he went down, it came into a DDT. It was pretty cool for a 2 count. Eagles gets up onto the top rope and hits the 450 splash onto El Phantasmo's legs, and then he gets him into the Ron Miller special, or he goes for the Ron Miller special, and El Phantasmo ends up pushing him off towards the ropes. Robbie Eagles' head kind of goes out between the second and top rope. Ishimori has the championship belt on the outside and smashes Eagles with it, and then Eagles gets picked up by El Phantasmo. He's on his shoulders, and then Ishimori hits a high knee onto Eagles, and then El Phantasmo gives him a spinning neck breaker. Ospreay tries to hit an Os cutter, but gets caught, and Ishimori hits him with an assisted bloody cross. So Ospreay is then taken out. They hit Eagles with a double super kick. Ishimori hits him with the bloody cross, and then El Phantasmo hits him with the CR2, and they pick up the victory with a 3 count right there. So the winners and still junior tag team champions are Taiji Ishimori and El Phantasmo from Bullet Club. This was a really awesome match. It was fast-paced, and I was typing furiously just to keep up with what was going on. I actually had to watch it twice because it was so crazy, and I just couldn't take my eyes off of it. So definitely go check it out if you have not seen it yet. So going into the final match of the evening, we have Kota Ibushi versus Kenta, and this is for the WrestleKingdom title contract. And this match was set up because one of the losses that Ibushi took during the G1 was to Kenta, so he has to at least defend the title here. The other match that he lost was from Evil. So right out of the gate, right as Ibushi is being announced, right after stepping through the ropes, Kenta attacks him. He grabs the briefcase and smashes Ibushi with the briefcase. He is completely laid out, and then Kenta opens up the briefcase and takes out the contract, and then he puts the briefcase on the mat and stomps on it with the hinges open, so he's like destroying the briefcase. He gets on the mic and says that the briefcase belongs to him now. After that, Kenta is trying to get Red Shoes to ring the bell, but he doesn't want to. He wants to try to get the doctor to come in and look at Ibushi and see if Ibushi wants to start the match. And then Ibushi ends up getting up and saying basically, bring it on. So the bell rings. Kenta gives Ibushi a drop kick and then throws him to the outside. He starts throwing Ibushi into the railings on all 4 sides of the ring. So he just runs him around it. Kenta gets massive heat from the fans over all of this. So there is a clear favorite in this one, and this is definitely Ibushi. Everybody is booing Kenta. Kenta leaves Ibushi on the outside to answer a 20 count, at which he does. When Ibushi gets back into the ring, Kenta throws him back out once again and starts working him over on the outside. They move outside the barricades down one of the aisles, and Kenta gives Ibushi a DDT on the unpadded floor and then leaves him there again to answer a 20 count. And then Kenta continues to dominate once he gets back into the ring. Ibushi slowly starts to swing momentum. He gets a strike in every once in a while, and then eventually it kind of moves into his favor a little bit. They get into a striking exchange, and then like the night before, they end up hitting simultaneous head kicks. So again, we see a spot from the previous night, just like we did in the previous match as well. After that, once both men end up finally making it to their feet, Kenta gets thrown to the outside, and Ibushi goes for the golden triangle, but Kenta counters him, and basically once Ibushi landed on the side of the turnbuckle, Kenta grabbed his leg, pulls him down, and he kind of gets his leg caught up in the tensioners on the back of the turnbuckle, and then he starts wrapping his leg around the post. So it looks like Kenta is going to start working on Ibushi's leg. And after that, he ties it up in the barricade, and then he ends up kicking it. He ties it up in the barricade again and hits it with a chair right in front of the ref. I have no idea why this was not a disqualification. It doesn't really make any sense. And then he drops him knee first into the announce table, and then he stomps on the knee, and then he does a dragon screw leg whip, and then they have multiple heel hooks and breakups in the ring, and then Kenta gives Ibushi a double stomp from the top rope. He goes for the GTS, but Ibushi manages to fight out of it, and then Kenta goes right for a figure four. After that is broken up, they exchange a few strikes, and Ibushi hits Kenta with a massive Hope Spot clothesline, and then he hits a sit-out powerbomb. Ibushi signals that he's going to hit the Bomaye, but Kenta grabs onto the ref and pulls him down to the ground. So he pulls Red Shoes down to the ground, and when he does that, the Gorillas of Destiny come out, and everybody's booing because they're walking down to the ring. But they get into the ring and give Ibushi the magic killer behind his back, behind the ref's back, that is. And then they start to set up for a super power bomb. But when they do that, Ishii and Yoshihashi run out and start taking out the Gorillas, and all the interfering parties end up leaving and heading towards the back. And Kenta and Ibushi then get into a short striking exchange, and Kenta hits Ibushi with his own move. He ends up hitting a Kamigoye on Ibushi, and then picks him up for the go to sleep, but Ibushi blocks, hits Kenta with a high knee, and then a Kamigoye, and then Kenta kicks out, and then Ibushi drags him up for a second one, and then gets the three. So Kota Ibushi retains his Wrestle Kingdom title shot, and one thing that wasn't mentioned is that he had also just pinned the Never Openweight champion. So I'm curious what's going to come of that, if he might get a title shot for the Never Openweight championship. Though I don't see that. I don't know what show that would end up happening at, because there's not really any big shows after King of Pro Wrestling. So I don't know if that is ever going to play out. They didn't mention it, so they might just be kind of ignoring it. After the match, a figure appears at the top of the ramp, and as I mentioned earlier, it ended up being Evil, because he also has a win over Kota Ibushi from the G1, and he challenges Ibushi for the contract, and Evil says he's going to take the contract from him and turn everything in the Tokyo Dome into darkness. Ibushi gets on the mic after Evil leaves the ring, thanks the hometown crowd, that is where Ibushi is from, and he says he made a promise last year that he would come back as the G1 winner, and he did, and now he's making another promise that he will be returning as the heavyweight champion and the Intercontinental champion. So he wants to be a double champion. So coming up for New Japan, the next show is going to be Destruction in Kobe. That is on the 22nd, so that's actually tomorrow when this is going to be published. And then the next kind of major show after that is going to be King of Pro Wrestling, and that is October 14th, I believe. Yes, October 14th is going to be King of Pro Wrestling. And then after that, for the most part, we have the Road to Power Struggle. So, okay, so yeah, Power Struggle is kind of the next big show after that. I don't have a date on that. The schedule, or at least the New Japan World schedule doesn't go that far out. But during the Road to Power Struggle is going to be the Super Junior Tag League tournament. So that is going to be one to watch if you are interested in watching those. None of those, a few of those are going to be live. And as far as I can tell, the only ones that are going to have English commentary are going to be the Road to Power Struggle shows on October 16th and 17th. And then there are 7 shows that is up in the air. I'm guessing there will either be no commentary or there will only be Japanese commentary. Though, one thing that they have been doing is Kevin Kelly has been recording commentary from the studio. So they would do the show, and then he would get, a copy of the show, and then he would record in a studio. So that's been kind of nice. New Japan World has definitely been doing a lot more to get English commentary, which is great. So right now there's just a hash mark, so I don't know what the commentary situation is going to be. But then there is definitely going to be English commentary live for the shows on the 27th, 28th, 30th, and 31st. So those are going to be kind of wrapping up the tag league. I'm guessing Power Struggle is going to be kind of like the month after that. Like I said, it's not showing on the what I'm looking at here. So, all right, here we go. Power Struggle is going to be on November 3rd, and there's also a Road to Power Struggle show on November 1st. So I'm guessing that is also going to have live English commentary, since I don't know why they would do English commentary for the few nights before if they weren't already scheduled to be there. So that is the outlook coming for New Japan. The shows are going to be pretty big, especially the King of Pro Wrestling show. Right now, the match lineup is the heavyweight championship match between Okada and Sonata. We also have a U.S. Championship match that's going to be a no DQ match as well between Moxley and Juice Robinson. And then we have the Junior Heavyweight Championship match between Will Ospreay and El Phantasmo. And then tonight for Destruction in Kobe, we have the Intercontinental Championship match between Naito and Jay White. And then we also have the grudge match between Goto and Shingo Takagi. So that's where we stand for New Japan at this time. Be sure to check out this feed. I know this show is late. I said I was going to do this on Wednesday or Thursday and then get an AEW or kind of a news show out, but I'm going to try to get that recorded tonight, so it should be out tomorrow, I hope. Things kind of got a little busy around here, but we are getting into kind of the slowdown season for New Japan, but of course, AEW is going to be hitting the TV in just over a week and a half here, coming up on the 2nd. So I plan to do live shows right after AEW, but unfortunately I will be traveling for work the first week, and then I should be going to the show the second week. So starting week 3 is probably when that is going to happen. Unfortunately, it just kind of worked out how it did that I can't do it live on the shows for the 2nd and the 9th, but that's how it goes sometimes. All right, so thank you for listening. If you want to get a hold of me, have any questions or anything like that, you can send me an email, eric@thatswrestling.com. Of course, you can find this on all your favorite podcast platforms, Apple, Google, Stitcher, Spotify, and all those fun things if you are watching this on YouTube and want to get a podcast version of this. And yeah, that's it. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time on That's Wrestling.